Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are doing great. Today's class is being recorded to help native English speakers to understand how does the pronunciation system in Spanish works in comparison to English pronunciation. In English, we have different vowels, and each one of them changes its sound according to the position in the word. So, according to its position in the word, the vowel changes its sound. But in Spanish, will remain the same with the same sound all the time. So, for example, A in English has multiple sounds. E in English has multiple sounds, and so on. But in Spanish, you only have A, E, I, O, U. Those vowels will always sound the same. Then you combine them with the consonants, and then you have, but you keep the same sound. Ba, for example, would be B, C. This is important. This is a class to clarify that pronunciation system. If you're watching this video and you have more questions about what is being explained and something that you think that is confusing, please let us know, put it down in the comments, and we will create that video for you to clarify that part that didn't make sense for you or was confusing, okay? Or that was not explained in this video. Also, remember that your support helps us grow and also is helping us to help other people around the world to be able to continue teaching languages around the world, creating content, creating material so everybody else can achieve their goals in communicating in a new language. So make sure you put your like on this video, your comment below, and share the video with that friend that is also trying to understand languages or this target language, which is for you, Spanish. Have a wonderful day and enjoy.
Well, I'm going to start with the pronunciation rules of the vowels in English compared to the rules in Spanish. This pronunciation rules in English will help you to understand how to read in Spanish and what not to do in Spanish, and what your brain does, your mind does when you read it in Spanish. Why is it hard to read the word? Why you might have to now be the referee between two information. One, the way you already know how to do things, and two, the new way. Now, this is a matter of organization. Um, a good exercise to help your brain to switch between one language and another, before I dive into the explanation of this, is multilingual people, polyglots, they divide their houses in different languages to be able to keep up with keeping fresh the languages that they're learning. This is a very hard thing to do when you are starting, but you can do it in a very you can do baby steps. For example, you can do it maybe one time in the morning, or one time in the afternoon, or one time in the evening, or you could just every time you go to the sink, you say one word in Spanish, and that's it. So that your brain will tell you that every time you go to the sink, at least one word you have to say in Spanish. So your brain makes that connection. At least one word I have to say in Spanish. Boop, and it gives you the information. And then by you repeating the same exercise without you trying, well, once you come to the sink again, your brain will give you at least one word in Spanish. Now, when you do that exercise and you decide now to read a word in Spanish or read a word in general, your brain will give you two information. The first one is the way you've been taught on how to read words. And the second one is this new information, the Spanish. Now, to get to that on how to correctly read the word, we have to have. I'm going to be explaining this, and this might be very helpful for you. So I'm going to start with the vowel A. The vowel A in Spanish only has one sound. Okay, I'm going to write down here the sound in Spanish. In English, how you would read this in English. Ah, okay, that is ah. Now in English, you have four sounds for the vowel A. The first sound is, how can I? This A, I'm writing down in English. A. The second sound is, I'm gonna put it like this. O. The third sound is, well, no, I'm gonna put it like this. O. Third sound is A. And fourth sound is E. We're gonna go through them. Bear with me. A in English being the first sound, when do you pronounce A, the vowel A, A? One, when you're spelling in the alphabet. A, B, C, D, A. Okay, that's the first one. In Spanish, it's always A. So this is the first situation where you will have to tell yourself, okay, even though in the alphabet I start A, B, C, or when I'm spelling A in Spanish is always A. So that's something you have to remind yourself. A situation where you will have to remind yourself that in Spanish is only A. In English, there is in those particular situations, the vowel A sounds A. Where else does the vowel A sound A? When we have a consonant and a vowel after. Face. Consonant, C, vowel, E. Every time we have this situation in a word, our vowel will sound A. Another example in English. Name. M, E. Consonant, vowel. The A sounds A. Another example. Take. Take. Now, in this case, the vowel A will always sound A in Spanish. But in English, if we have one consonant and a vowel after that A will sound A. Okay? So that's another situation. Where will the vowel A sound like O or an open O? O. All right? We also could say here, put it like this. Maybe will help. Odd. Well, not odd. Sorry. This is like this. Better. When we have one L or two L's, tall. In Spanish, if we have one L or two L's, it doesn't matter. It will always sound A, tal. Mall. In Spanish, it's always A, mal. That's why here, in this word, it's a Spanish word, you may in the future have to tell your brain it's not mal, it's mal. Okay? Because your brain will tell you the A has an L right there. And when the A has an L, the A has to sound all, mal, tall. All right? So it's here in Spanish that A is A. always. Another example is talk. So talk, the A sounds because we have the L. Okay, another sound, the sound. This is the Latin American or the Latin sound. And here is where our vowel A will sound like in Spanish. Ah. This is where you have the equivalent sound. You have it here in English. Where? Well, first we need to know why we would make that sound. This sound will only happen if we have only one. Well, if we have one or more consonants after that vowel A. Example: cat, 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 cat. See, it's there. Cat. Another one. Back, ba, back, 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 back. So now sounds up. Another one. Um, task, ta, ta, task, task. Okay. Now something that well, I'll add it in the next one. But every time you have a consonant, one consonant or two consonants after the vowel A, that vowel A will sound ah. Okay, that's the Latin American sound or the Latin sound. Now here put A. Let me change that for um. Put it like how can I put it? I'm gonna put it like this. The A sound. Where will the vowel A sound A? Well, we have a couple options here. Number one, if I write down, sorry, the vowel A by itself, and I'm not saying the alphabet or spelling the word or spelling a word, but using this as an article, indefinite article, for example, a car. There, this will also sound like we have it here. Will also make the sound if it's in a sentence and it's being used as an indefinite article. What is indefinite article? That is not describing, giving specifics about this direct object. Okay, it's just saying one thing. No, that's good. Yeah, no, no, no. I'm gonna go to that one. I'm gonna go to that. So in English, you could say a car. All right. Now, what happens? Also, when we're using, because that's the key there, when we're using the vowel a, as indefinite article, we say also a car. And that's where we also have this a sound. But it's in this particular situation when we're using it as a definite article. If we're spelling the word, is A, B, C, all right? But if it is being used, or if is being used as an indefinite article, that could also be said a car, a whatever, all right? Does that make sense? Okay, you would say a car, a, okay, okay, okay. Well, good. I take that. Good. Well, that's good to know. Knowing from no, it's good to know from you. Because, for example, Canadian or people from London that have been teaching English, that have interacted or been around with, they have that tendency to say these two sounds that I just explained. The one saying a car or saying a car. Yes, there's been a time where when I was learning at the beginning of the my time learning English, that I would say a car, but in the process of being around other people, meaning Canadians, London, and other people from other countries that spoke English, they will have the tendency to say a or a car. Okay, but the point here is having that a by itself in indefinite. Uh, Being used as an indefinite article, you have those sounds. Okay, so you have, let's go to the A, that we know. You have, yes, yes. So I wanted to start with that one. And then another one is many, many, or any. Now, this is in Spanish, money, and because the A sounds all the time. And then you have Ani. And this is Ani, for example, Ani is actually a name in Spanish. Yeah. Well, for example, this is any. That's correct in English. But in Spanish, this is a name. This is a name. Ani is a name, and it's the full name is Anita or Anna, and we short the name. We're saying Ani. All right, this is a name. Now this is a word in English that is pronounced any, because here the A sounds A. All right. Um, another example with the S sound could be care. Here, because we have RE, this A will sound A, care. All right. But again, in all these examples that I'm giving you in English, the vowel A in Spanish, it will always be A. Okay. But I'm giving you these examples because as you go through the language, as you go through the reading process or learning words by yourself and not in class, you're gonna find out that your brain will try to go back to your English roots. All right. So, for example, in my case, when I was learning, I'm still learning the language. Let's say in my pronunciation or Latin American, if I read this in Spanish, is tank. Now, the way I'm pronouncing it might sound German. Tank. Okay. In English, it's important to pronounce the and the K. Tank. Okay. Now, in Spanish, those T and that K sound are not important. What is important is here is the vowel ta. I don't have to make it explosive. You don't hear That's a hard sound for any Latin American to pronounce. For example, first. That's hard. We don't do that. We don't do that in our language. Our focus are the vowels. Now, here, sometimes also we have that N sound or more emphasis on the N when we have the vowel A with an N. Okay, tank. Latin Americans at the beginning, for them, will be so much easier instead of saying tank to say tank. But why? Because a sounds a for us. We don't. It's rare for us to change that a for an a, or for an a, or for an o. How come the a is gonna sound o? So this might be another situation when you are reading in Spanish that you may want to pronounce the A here, uh, or make more emphasis on the N instead of the A sound. Okay, for example, tank, which is tank, or instead of saying land, I'm going to say it and pronounce it in Spanish, land. How a Spanish person would pronounce it, you would say land, uh, um, or man. Okay, so this, go ahead. Lan, lan, lan. Correct, correct. My D wouldn't be. I wouldn't pronounce the D unless. Let me write down here a word. It's a word like this, where the D at the end is ending within the group of a syllable. What is, D. There, I am supposed to pronounce that D. All right. Now what happens? Tank. In Spanish, tank, tank. And I probably, well, right now, I have a Latin American would say just tank. They they don't even do it. Yeah, you wouldn't hear it unless, and I'll say it like this: if you hear it, one is because that person has been learning or took classes of another language before, or knows another language, because that's something you get taught to when you learn another language, to pronounce other consonants that are within the word. And if they pronounce it and they don't know, well, probably they heard it right. But in Latin America that only knows Spanish, it will be hard for them to pronounce all the consonants. Tan, tan. Yeah, tan. And maybe if a Latin Americans pronounce that K, it's gonna sound hard for them because that K sound, we're not used to pronounce a K. We don't have a word that ends on K, so it's hard to pronounce a cake there. So tan, they're gonna try to pronounce it hard. That's a good question. Yes, besides this one, because this is the one that is combined and is in within. This is in a way unspoken. Uh, yeah, yeah, but this one, for example, ch, uh, that starts like this. For example, this word, this is pronounced cha. We haven't talked about this, but this is a cha. These two make that cha sound. Now, if that is at the end, or ace sh is at the end, you have that cha or sh sound. Now, all these different sounds that are now within the alphabet of what we have learned so far is because of the cosmopolitation, cosmo, uh, I'm forgetting the word right now. Cosmo, man, I forgot the. Yes, yes, and this happens, and I was about to say this happens because uh, that in Spanish we have Italian words, we have English words, we have French words, we have words from other languages. So to make the equivalent within our language, we had to combine letters. But that correct, and that comes from the Greek. Yeah, wouldn't apply. Correct. Yeah, yeah. Um, no, I don't, but I could create one. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. I think this is a good class to clarify the reading, the pronunciation, the understanding of how to how in Spanish we read words and the vowel sounds.